right, as y'all can see, there's a big first step, all right? So be careful getting on board, grab the handrails if you need them, and whenever y'all are ready, we'll just kind of file on left and right so we keep an even boat there. So whenever y'all are ready to get on. All right, we got everybody, right? Look around, everybody's in your crew. Don't want to leave anybody. Don't want to forget somebody so early on in the trip. We'll do that. We'll forget somebody. Yeah, we'll forget somebody when the walking tour begins. Now, I always ask, everybody where they're from to see if I got any locals on board. So I usually can pretty much tell anybody, tell people anything I want to. They have to believe it, but I do have one local right here, so I gotta be careful about what I say while we're out here.
But I'm a transplant.
Okay. All right. So I can fabricate, I can stretch it, just not break it.
Not let you also a minister.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So I don't want to stretch too much. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm also retired.
I don't want to have any last difference. That's what you call it, stickfish there. Yeah. So before we get too far in the way, y'all, first of all, my name is Captain Dustin. Welcome to Honey Island Swamp, South Louisiana. I'm gonna take you down the river here a little ways. Before we get going, a couple of those safety things I kind of just need to go over so we're all on the same page. Number one, anytime you hear or you feel the boat go into gear like that, try and stay seated, all right? Because we got high water right now, so what happens, it gets up into the woods, grabs logs and grabs trash and debris, and it's floating out in the water. And even if we're just kind of putting along and we hit something, it can make the boat stop. And if you're standing up, you're gonna fall down, so I don't want anybody to get any injuries out here. Secondly, just in case of an emergency, a fire on board, taking on the water, and that unlikelihood, we do have life jackets underneath your seat there, okay? And a first aid kit on board if we had any cuts or scrapes or anything like that as well. So, I've seen alligators on both these tours so far today, okay? It's very sunny out here. I'm hoping that we can get, at least a shot of at least one more while we're out here today. They've been up on the logs. When it's cold like this, they're very languid, very slow. So we won't get them up to the boat today because they don't have enough energy really to go out and eat and everything. But hopefully we'll be able to see some up on some logs here. But we're gonna see plenty of stuff out here today. You can already kind of see some of this wildlife. So I'm gonna try to maneuver the boat, get the right looking at it, move over, get the left looking at it. But if you see something on your side, as long as we're in neutral, if you stay seated, the other side can get up and look over your shoulder, right? If it's on the left side, y'all stay seated, the right side can kind of get up and look over your shoulder. So that way everybody gets a good photo opportunity. A couple more things, that little bow deck up there right on the front, try and stay off of that. That's kind of spot number one for danger right there. If you go overboard the front of the boat, we go overboard you. All right, so try and stay off the front of the boat there, especially with, the kids get a little excited. Last but not least, if you do go overboard the boat, whether it's the front or the sides or whatever it is, and you're panicking, you got some alligators out here, your life is flashing before your eyes, tell my kids I love them, all that. Just stand up. All right, there's probably about 4 feet of water in here, the deepest part. So if you're big enough, they let you on a roller coaster, you're big enough to walk back to the boat, and we'll get some of these guys on board to help you back on the boat, all right? Other than that, y'all, we should be good and safe. So without further ado, we got a couple of cool birds, really photogenic, picturesque birds on our left here. We'll talk about this one right here first, since we're closer, this white one. So you see him kind of behind that marsh grass? He's hard to miss, right? That real stark white bird. That's your great egret right there. So they'll stand typically about 3.5 feet tall. You can't see his full overall height because his legs are halfway in the water there. But very cool bird. First thing you probably want to know about this bird is that he's probably a murderer. Okay? So a great egret would have about 3 to 4 eggs in its nest. A lot of times the strongest, most assertive hatchling is going to kill the other siblings in the nest. Not every time, but oftentimes. Now that's a process that's called siblicide, kind of like homicide, but with siblings attached to it. Like I said, that's the first thing you want to know. I kind of typically want to know that right off when I meet somebody, if they are capable of such heinous crimes. But he kind of got what was coming to him in the 1920s. I say he for a very good reason. Look at him wobble his neck there. I'll tell you what that's about. Watch him he'll sway his neck like that. In the 1920s, they got hunted almost to the point of extinction. Now, during April, their mating season, the male will display his plumage, his really fine, almost like transparent feathers that he'll show trying to attract a mate. Now, 1920s, think roaring 20s in women's fashion. Those flapper dresses, the feathers in the hats, the purses, that kind of thing. That's what they were hunted for, that plumage that they display. It's very, 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 very beautiful. And so, like I said, almost hunted to extinction for those feathers, because there's no meat on that bird. As big as that bird is, weighs about 2 pounds. All right, so it wasn't hunted for the meat on it, just that plumage. Now, have you ever heard of the National Audubon Society? It was created. That organization was made up to stop the killing of that great eagle right now. Next time you see the emblem of it, it's still the great eagle. It's the emblem of the National Audubon Society. But when you see him kind of sway his neck like that, if you watch him close enough, he'll do right before he strikes. He'll see him how to wiggle his neck like that, and then strike down, and get a little fish, right? There's 2 theories about why they do that. Number 1 is with this marsh grass around him. Obviously, he doesn't blend in very well with color, right? I mean, he kind of stands out a little bit. But right before he strikes, he gets fixated on something. They say he wobbles that neck so that he blends in with this marsh grass that's swaying like that. So he tries to blend in kind of motion-wise with his surroundings, so he's a little bit more undetected. The other theory is that if he's got a prey right there, he wobbles that neck so that the prey can't determine where that attack is going to come from. They see the motion of the neck, think it's coming from there, when it's actually coming from his beak or his head. That's 2 of the reasons why they say that he does that. But just you see him stalking like that, just kind of slowly going through the water. That's his hunting style. He doesn't pursue his prey. He's not a pursuing predator. He waits patiently or slowly goes through. Now, let's see about this one. See this bird flying away here? Back up, check him out. Well, there he goes. We may see him on the way back, get a better picture of him. But same sort of size and shape, stature-wise, big like that egret, except that's called a great blue heron right there. A little bit bigger than a great egret. Sometimes those birds, I've seen them as tall as 5 feet tall. They look like an ostrich when you're straying across the South Louisiana lake. Now, same hunting style. You can see him slowly walking through like that, stalking his predator. A little bit bigger than an egret. He weighs about 4 or 5 pounds. I'm gonna tell you an interesting fact about this bird. Now, I know we haven't seen any alligators, right? But I know you probably have some preconceptions about the dangers of alligators. How they could possibly be life-threatening for you if you encounter one in the wild, right? That big blue bird that you just saw fly away is responsible for more human deaths in the state of Louisiana than the American alligator is. So we're lucky he flew away when we got close like that. I'm just kidding about the flying away part. The fatalities is true, though. He's not an aggressive bird. What happens down here in Sportsman's Paradise, a lot of fishing nets get left all over the place, right? Big old lanky, gaudy bird like that can easily get caught up in a net. And some good people in the world, so the Good Samaritan may come by and try and help it get untangled. And I was reading a story about a lady, this was about 5 years ago, a true account. She was doing just that, found a great blue heron tangled up in a net. She went to get it untangled, or try to help it out. Now, any kind of wild animal is going to get agitated when you're messing with it, whether you're trying to help it or not. But when she got that big, long, 2-foot neck untangled from the net, it struck at her. Now, the power he could generate with that big, thick neck and that 7-8 inch long beak, sharp as a pencil, was good enough to go through her chest plate, pierce her heart, and sever her spine on the backside. That's how much power it can generate. You saw how long that beak, once it got through her chest plate, there was nothing else to stop it. It was going to go straight through it. It's been known to get people through their eye sockets or even fracture someone's skull before. That's how much power they can generate. But it's a pretty bird. I want to kind of explain to you what you're seeing with these houses that we're kind of slowly passing right here, right? Everything kind of, I guess, on our front now, about to be on our left. Everything on the land here, these are all permanent residents, y'all. All right, so this is 365 days out of the year. And really, they're generational houses, okay? They've got running water, they've got electricity hooked up to them. They're land accessible, so you'll see kind of shows you the resiliency of South Louisiana and its people down here. And I think when you go into New Orleans, you'll see a strong culture there because it's been done for a long time. It's not a very modern looking city. It's because it's very proud of its heritage and its culture. And I think that's kind of what you see out here with these houses as well, living off this water and this way of life. So again, those houses, electricity, see the power pole, land accessible, running water, totally different than what you see with these houses right here on our right. We'll come check him out. Trees there. As long as you're on a public waterway like this and you're tied up, secured to a public land like that, you can keep this house out here as long as you want to. Now, you might not want to live here permanently, right? Because you don't have those amenities running water, electricity. But if you're going on a fishing trip or a hunting trip, or you just want a nice little weekend in an exotic man cave, that's your best bet right there, right? You can see that natural wraparound driveway for your boat, because obviously this isn't land accessible here. But like right now, we're coming up on the end of duck season, so wasp nests.
We call them
Mud daubers. That's right. More specifically, mud daubers. Now you can tell, looking at these nests, there's some different shapes to them, right? You got some that are kind of circles. You got some that look like cylinders with little holes in them. We call those pipe organ daubers. The ones with the holes in there because they got that kind of shape to them. Each species of dauber will make a different kind of nest. But it's all mama's doing. It's all mama's work. You get a good rain in a kind of rutted up, clutty area, you'll see a wasp come in with those little skinny forelegs. She'll roll up a little ball of mud, pick it up and fly away. And 2 minutes later she'll come back, roll up another little ball of mud and fly away, back and forth. And that's what she's building right there. And so she'll build that and then she'll go out and hunt some spiders. Now she doesn't kill them. She goes and stings them, injects her venom and paralyzes them. Then she grabs them and stuffs them up in one of those little holes. She'll put about 5 or so in each one of those little holes because each one has a single larva in it. And she stuffs them up with holes, and as that larva develops, it starts feeding on those live spiders. And by the time that they're adult age, they bust through the little seal in those holes and go out and start their adult life. And then Dad doesn't really do much. Dad sits around the nest and defends the nest from other insects. But that's really, in all truth, Mama does all the work pretty much. Dad acts like a hero. Yeah, it's a good piece. So, looking back up this way. So again, we're on the West Pearl River, and the West Pearl River is a smaller branch off of a larger river called Pearl River, running from North Mississippi down into Lake Bourne here. So, but when you look up this way, this is all fresh water coming down towards you, all right? A lot of tree growth up this way, as you can see. That's the tupelo gum, the bald cypress, the black willow, all like to grow right up on that bank or even up out of the water. And so, when you see all that, you know, that's kind of swampland. Swampland has plenty of tree growth. When you go down here about 3 or 4 miles, you're not going to see very many trees at all because you're getting into brackish water. It's more salinity. See, those trees can't grow in that amount of salinity, so what you get is all this marsh grass here, fields and fields of it. It looks like the Florida Everglades to you. So we call it cut grass, saw grass, that marsh grass right. There's a very good reason for that. You can take your fingers and you can run it up this stalk or this blade of grass as smooth as it can be, not a problem at all. The second you take your fingers, you run down it, we'll be getting that first aid kit out because it's going to go straight through the skin on your fingers. It's got almost, you can't even see them, almost microscopic little teeth on there, upward facing like a saw blade. So I'm going to pass it around so you can just kind of gently touch it like that. You'll feel those little teeth, but remember, especially with the kiddos, remember, down is bad. All right, I like to remind people of that before I pass them. South America, all right? So the apple snail got up here with Katrina. People would keep them in their aquariums, kind of a decorative addition. We clean the glass, that's what they would use it for. But with the storm, you get a lot of displaced material, right? Everybody lost power, those aquariums were dumped, and the apple snail was turned loose in the South Louisiana. Now the problem is, like I said, they're about peanut size, maybe like that or so. But in the summertime, there's hundreds of thousands of them all throughout Honey Island Swamp, on the bottom of marsh grass, on the bottom of trees, on boats like that. And the problem is, each one of those little peanut-shaped little pieces of bubble gum have about 1,000 to 2,000. Man, you can imagine the power that thing can generate from his neck. Look how long his beak is. Sharp as a pencil, hard as wood. You'll see him going. If he's walking through the woods, he'll stop by a tree and kind of shave his beak on the side of a tree. He does it all the time. Continuously sharpening his beak.
But this one kills a lot of
Really got some beautiful colors. You can't really see that height on him. He steps up on the higher ground. Look how long that beak is.
This one eats fish? Or does this
Fish, toad, frogs, snakes, you know, any kind of, you know, almost prehistoric looking in it. Yeah, this first house over here on our left, the one all the way kind of on the right there, one of our captains lives there. He's only been working with us for about a year or so. But up until that point, he was always out on his backyard. Like I said, professional fisherman and crabber, so he was showing people the crabs he caught, showing them, you know, the fish he caught, or the turtles and everything, always out there with his hound dogs and no shirt on. And then finally we're like, man, do you want a job? Because we know you know this area out here. So so eventually he went and got his boat captain's license, we gave him a job and a shirt. And, you know, and so he's been out here. He's a great captain, man. It's a good dude. He was out here earlier in Alaska. I was hoping he'd still be around today, but he said he's going to take a nap. So before we pass under that bridge, I'll give you a say. I'll kind of cruise back and forth a little bit. You can take a picture of that bridge. Really nostalgic, kind of classic looking bridge. But the style of that bridge is called a vertical lifting bridge. Now what that means is that entire about 90,000 pounds a piece, and they drop down, and that mechanical system with the cables and the pulleys lift it straight up into the air. It takes about 15 minutes for it to reach its height. But that's the oldest vertical lifting bridge in the state of Louisiana. It was built in 1933. I think it was last painted in 1933. Probably why it's condemned right now. You might saw the roadblock signs on it, right? They came out about, look, I told you about those, that bubble gum, those egg sacs. Right where that black lettering is, the KY0414EX, look at the window just to the right of it. You see those little pieces of pink bubble gum on the window?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, the window just to the right of the black lettering. That's the egg, that's the apple snail egg sac right there.
Oh, I see.
Each one of those will have about 1,000 to 2,000 little eggs in them. And in the summertime, in the warmer months, there's hundreds of thousands of them all throughout the swamp.
At the marina at Heritage Park, they're starting to get them.
Yep.
But I always wondered what that was.
That's what it is. Yep, they got here with Katrina. Yes, ma'am. And yeah, there's you one. All right, we got to see one. Yeah, yeah. Look at him right there, y'all.
Oh, there he
About
is.
2 or 3 footer. Yeah. I was worried. This was the last chance right here. Once we pass this guy, we didn't see him here. But you can see, look, the sun's coming. We're taking that corner, so it's a little more exposed to the sunlight. So he's still basking a little bit. So a lot of times when we see them, right, they're in the water, okay, swimming. So in this dark, kind of muddy, murky water, all you see is their head. So the next time you're out, or you see one, you're going down the highway and you see one in the water when you're down here, and you just see the head, a good little trick to use is take a little mental measurement from the end of his nose to his eyes. And what that is in inches, that's about what they are in feet. So if he's about 3 inches roughly from his nose to his eyes, you can see it's about a 3-foot alligator there. But it's good to know because when you see him in the water, you can't see his tail. His tail is 50% of the length of his body. So it's a nice little rule of thumb to kind of use there.
That's good to know.
You see all those little bumps going down his back? Those little ridges kind of rolling down there in rows? Those are called scoots. Every alligator's got 20 rows of scoots down his back. Now, what they're used for is, kind of think back in your childhood, pictures of dinosaurs with the armored plates, right, kind of protection. That's one purpose they serve. Each one of those little scoots is a bony plate, so it protects him if he's getting into a fight with other alligators. It protects the internal organs. But each one of them also has blood vessels running through him. So when he's sitting up like that and his back is getting hot, it heats up the blood going through those blood vessels and it's circulating through the rest of his body. So you can kind of think of them also as like solar panels right there on his back, giving him energy. But on top of the water, cruising, about 18 miles an hour, over about 10 to 12 miles an hour. About 4 or 5 miles an hour faster than you can run. Right? Just to keep that in mind. Right? Yeah, I can run faster than an alligator chasing me, right? Well, the best thing you can do if an alligator comes chasing you is find you a tree to climb or trip your neighbor. That'll be your best bet.
How old do you think he is?
So once you can, we can. If he's about 3 feet, he's about 6 years old or so. 5 or 6 years old. Even though he looks like a baby, he's been around for a little while. Oh, there he goes, y'all. And you saw, look, do you see all those gold bands going down his body, or going down his tail? That tail's the whole, the mane. So he's got webbed feet, he puts his feet up by his sides when he's swimming. He just uses that tail. Hold on his tail too. But each farmer is required to release 3% of their population annually. That keeps, the population regulated out here. But when they release that lucky 3%, you see those little triangles on his tail? Close to about 5 or 6 from the end, they'll cut one of those triangles off. And they'll tag them and also sex them, because you have to sedate an alligator in order to determine the sex of them, because the reproductive organs are internal. But they'll cut one of those little notches off on its tail so you can readily recognize if it's farm raised or if it's born and raised in this area. Pushing his way through. See how languid and slow he is? In this cold weather, he doesn't have enough energy yet to really move too fast.
Now where was he going?
He'll probably get back up in there, try and find a little bit of sunlight if he wants to try and bask a little bit more. After that, he'll probably bury up into some soft soil for a little bit. Yep, overnight when it's cold. Yep. Went straight down Maple Slough right here, all the way to the back. And the footage that they had 360 cameras, so they mapped out, surveyed this whole area. The footage they got from that little expedition is what they used to animate the film. Yep, we're gonna go see it right now. So try and stay seated when we come through here, because we're gonna hit some stumps here, y'all. Yeah, hold on, there's one on your left right there, y'all. We're gonna go back to our little rendezvous point, though. He'll meet up with us. Come on, George Cootie.
Oh, the coon. I didn't know they get in the water like that.
There's a bunch of them. See that?
Oh, there's
Another
another
bunch
one.
of
Another one.
Yeah.
Bunch of them up here too. They're everywhere. All over.
There's another one.
Coon City.
Here they come.
They're coming to the boat.
We do.
They're coming to the boat.
We do. How could you tell?
Oh, they know that.
Come
So
to
we
eat.
used to feed the alligators out here, marshmallows, same
Say
thing
get
we
back.
used to feed these raccoons, but in the summertime we'll have 50 boats go out a day. Each captain throwing marshmallows out to alligators, not exactly part of their natural diet, so we switched over to protein pellets, which are what we're going to feed these guys right here. So it's just, think of it as a piece of dog food, a little bit bigger, ground up fish, meat, and bones, that kind of thing.
Here they come. Yep.
So this is a family out here, y'all. And you'll hear some brotherly love. You hear right there, some sibling rivalry. But look at what, look at, kind of pay attention to what you're looking at right here. They're all on logs. They're all on the bottom of trees, right? They may kind of scamper from one and go to another one, but they're pretty much going to stay on these logs. That's because they know what's in this water out here. They're excellent swimmers, but they're going to stay in a spot where they can really get away from something if they need to.
You got it worked out.
See the little ones jump in really quick? Those little ones are brazen, man. The bigger ones, see the bigger ones stay on the log, but they're a little bit older and wiser. They know not to jump in this water. Last summer we had a raccoon taken by an alligator on tour. Got a little National Geographic, got you? I hear no kids on there.
Look at all of them. Yeah, I was going to say, you're going to feed these guys?
We won't ignore it. Look at this one, this tight, this little acrobatic. See what he's doing. Get back over there.
Oh. Get it, get it.
I didn't get one.
Come on. See the bigger ones, a little more cautious. Here it comes. Once that little one sees it, he ain't gonna stop. See, he can't grab it with one hand.
Last.
He's got to use two hands. Because you see how long those fingers are? But they're all fingers. He doesn't have a thumb. So he doesn't have the ability to grip something with one hand. That's why he does that really cute thing with two hands and brings it in like that. Two hands now.
He's feeding everybody else. He just knocked it to other people. Didn't even get one.
Este no comió nada.
He's got hands ready. Wait. I never saw him playing with water like this. Never saw this many at a time. Cool.
So if you're living out in the swamp, you're doing things pretty differently, right? So why have a puppy dog when you can have a raccoon as a pet? Not exactly good for the home decor. But talking about those hands, those fingers, out of the whole animal kingdom, humans, primates, and raccoons have the most sensory feeling in their hands. It's really their best sense. So when you see him grab that protein pellet, looks like he's like cleaning it off or getting it wet. It's actually clean. When you keep him as a pet, they think that you have no nerve endings in your skin. So they bite and claw and pull your hair and are really rough with you. They're never quite as gentle as your puppy dog. Well, that's one of the captains out here. There's a whole wildlife information from him. Yep. He said because he'll come to work, have scratches on his face and stuff, and yeah, they play. Little pieces, yep. Pick up little pieces here and there. But yeah, in the see of a raccoon out here is about 2 to 3 years. Now, if you keep them, in your house, if you raise them, it's more like your dog, like 10 or 12 years or so. But out here, it's only about 2 or 3 years.
Ah, pero vamos con más fuerza. No se lo tiren, que vengan. Se lo hagan.
Just toss it. Don't feed them by hand because they will scratch you and they do carry rabies.
Se lo dio, muchacho. El que se lo comió que estaba acá se fue. Vino.
Just toss it. They will scratch you.
La boca
Watch
no
out.
se ¡Eh! Mírate. La mano, bájatelo un poquito más. Yeah!
They can swim very well. They can cruise a couple miles an hour across the water. So like I said,
You wash it, and they eat
They
it.
say wash his hands so he can feel. That's what he said. But it looks like that's cute. Hey, swallow the hoe. We can see coon anytime.
Mad?
there you go. Big fight there. 12-round brawl right there. Really, they come out. We see them a lot more in the summertime because they want to come down to the water and cool off.
Yeah.
That's when we see them most of the time. Now, when it's shallow, they're off. They typically get a little further away because there's more to kind of grub around and find around. So sometimes the high water helps us see them a little bit more.